I'm just very, very grateful. If I look around this room, those of you I can see and those of you I can't in the lights here, I know that you're responsible for my standing before you here tonight. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for your dedication and your hard work in a tough political year for Democrats that helped me turn this state blue for the first time in a quarter century in the governor's election. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Nancy, what you said is very true. I needed you then, I need you now even more. The challenge that we have before us is to stand strong for the principles of Paul David Wellstone and all of those who preceded us, who've given their lives and their souls on behalf of what we now face. We have a group of people, won their elections as well, who view this state and its problems very differently from the way I do, the way you do. That's called democracy. They're entitled to their view, we're entitled to ours. But this will be so important that our voices and those that we care about and those who we represent who don't have a voice in St. Paul because perhaps they can't get there, because perhaps they don't have the ability or the resources or the time, so they depend on all of you and they depend on me to speak on their behalf. As Hubert Humphrey said, the true moral test of a society is how it cares for those in the dawn of life, the young, the twilight of those, the elderly, in the shadow of life, the sick and the poor. Those are the people whose voices are often not heard in St. Paul. Those are the people that you and I need to represent. We need to stand there in St. Paul at the state capitol and say, they must be heard, they must be recognized, their needs must be honored. We can afford it in Minnesota. We can afford to be a good society. And then certainly for all the talk of shared pain and shared sacrifice, the wealthiest people in the state of Minnesota can't afford, yes they can afford, yes they can afford to pay their fair share of taxes. And they're better than that. They're better than they're given credit for by those who want the poor to suffer, the sick to suffer, the elderly to suffer. People say, well, you know, we're going to cut human services by 1/3, but we're going to exempt the elderly and the children and the people with disabilities, which is right, but that's 75 to 90% of the people who receive that assistance. So let's get real here, folks. And if we're going to, and I've been through this budget the last 2 weeks, it's been a miserable experience, believe me, to have to face up to the realities of a $6.2 billion deficit inherited from my predecessor. I told Governor Quee, who had lunch with him, I said, you know, thank you, Governor Quee, for your integrity and your forthrightness. You did what was necessary. You had 4 special sessions the last year you were in office. You balanced the budget, and then you left a balanced budget to Rudy Purvich when he came in as governor so he could move the state forward in the midst of a great recession back then and put resources into job creation. He had that opportunity because he was left a balanced budget. That's a luxury that I don't have because somebody else is too busy running for president than to face up to the problems here in Minnesota. But when I go through that budget and I see the pain and the suffering and the heartache that it's going to cause, anything at all, then I say to myself, truly, I know, I believe that I can appeal to those who are the most fortunate among us, people including my own family, but who recognize, which is an ethic I learned from my father and my uncles, that truly to whomsoever much has been given of he or she is much required, is much requested, and it will come forward in that time of need to help the people who are less fortunate. That's an ethic I learned from my family. That's an ethic, it's a Minnesota ethic. That's an ethic we're going to apply to what we need to do for the state of Minnesota. We're better than that. We're better than those out there say we are. We're better. I know Minnesotans are better. I know Minnesotans are great people. And I know that they care about those in need. And I know that you embody those values and those ethics, because those are the ethics of the values of the DFL party, of which I'm so proud to be a part. Those are the values and ethics that kept the state blue in the midst of a political headwind. Those are the values and ethics that are going to keep the state blue in 2012 when we elected Barack Obama. We re-elected Amy Klobuchar. When we elect good Democrats across the state, we put more Democrats in office. So let's turn the state blue in 2012 and blue and again thereafter. Thank you very much.